I have a question for everyone. If a director's hand were to appear in a movie, would that count as a director's cameo? Like how Alfred Hitchcock or Stan Lee would appear? But if that hand is gloved, would that count? I would say yes. Dario Argento in Tenebrae is truly a unique movie for him. And of course he has his hand, gloved hand, has made an appearance. But what's going on here? Terror beyond belief. American mystery author Peter Neal, portrayed by difficult to work with actor Anthony Franciosa, comes to Italy to promote his newest novel, Tenebrae, Latin/Italian for darkness. Fortunately, a razor-wielding serial killer is on the loose, taunting Neal and murdering those around him in gruesome fashion, just like the character in his novel. As the mystery surrounding the killing spirals out of control, Neal investigates the crimes on his own, leading to a mind-bending, genre-twisting conclusion that will leave you breathless. Featuring an amazing synth music score from Claudio Simonelli, Fabio Pignatelli, and Massimo Morante, formerly of Italian progressive rock band Gallo and also known as Cherry 5. This all-new Tenebrae release was created from the original uncut camera negative. Also stars John Saxon from A Nightmare on Elm Street, Daria Nicolodi from Phenomena, and John Steiner from Caligula. This movie, I would call, you can get enjoyment from it on two different levels. I watched this about 4 years ago, and I had no idea what was going on. I'm like, he's in Italy, but he's not. It's like, what is going on with this environment? What's going on with the difference between the razor and the axe? I mean, you can view it as like surface. You can view it as like surface level entertainment. There's nothing wrong with that, but it does leave you with a feeling of there's something else occurring here. What is the more in-depth slash, I guess you could call it, as I like to call it, cinematically literate, view of this? Well, this is Argento, who is dealing with multiple themes. For example, his work has often been criticized by macho BS, sexuality, promiscuity, and stuff like that. So he, instead of just silently accepting it, he does it in the intelligent way and includes it in his narrative fiction. For example, he has, it's like let's get this let's get some people who are knocking this author's novel, but they have it be a subversion, I guess, of what people said about Argento's works before, but instead just say, hey, this book is macho BS and it's making and it is sexual and other things like that. So let's have this afternoon talk show host with a bad mustache be the one who's trying to get rid of what he calls aberrant sexuality, because he was raised Catholic and he sees homosexuality as a sin and really just discriminates against them by billing them. And of course he uses it as a razor, which is just more of a straightforward, kind of brutal-ish way, because he's like such a wide encompassing range of everything going on that it just seems indiscriminate. But when the second person comes in with an axe, this is more of a passionate style affair, because the people who get billed off are ones who have a more in-depth / personal relationship. And I mean, I think this is a movie that you can understand, that you can probably watch once, but really it is a movie you have to watch twice, in my opinion, to fully comprehend. It's one of those that's on there. It's like you can get it or you don't. In order to achieve the look that Argento was going for, it's like he said, hey, let's have this because this was a 1981 release, 82, whatever. Let's have the have this look modernistic but futuristic, retro futuristic, I think is the phrase. So they have this cold feel about it. You have all the silvers. You have the twisted architecture going on, as if to say that this is you like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like kind of a futuristic look to it because it's cold and austere. Shiny, silvery, but dull surfaces. And there's a sequence about 50 to 60 minutes where the youngest victim is going around, and we just get to see this futuristic inside house with the points, the curves, and everything else, in order to make this seem like kind of more of a rich person's home, and having just the lack of people around adds, like, says, hey, this is kind of a rich person's city, but at the same time it's not. But it's like, what happened that could have caused it here? Maybe it's just like a futuristic Rome in Italy, of course. So that's what I saw. There are some like I said, I'm doing more of a thematic analysis right now. I mean, yes, I enjoyed this movie the second time around. Of course, they are quoting Arthur Conan Doyle, Agatha Christie, and other mystery novelists. I'm not a mystery novel fan, but when they quote it, especially when you remove everything else, I forgot the quote. It was from The Hounds of Baskerville. Suddenly, everything that could be incomputable suddenly becomes the truth, or something like that. I don't know. I'm not really into mystery novels, but even the way how the people get billed are taken straight from some of the novels, and it's just interesting to see how, that with playing with the narrative right here. It's like at the same time Argento is playing with it, not offering any context as to the billings that happen, but ultimately as to why they happen, because of, shoot, what was I going to say? And I guess a commentary about how art, what was that? Art ultimately can kill, and only it's a weapon of itself. It's like, yeah, you can look at it, things like that, but what does it ultimately lead to in certain things? Who knows? Let's open up for interpretation. And let's see, we get that, and then we also get the duality going on. It's like maybe some people each have a motif associated with them, like the author has water, because whenever he's inside like a big scene, it's either the water's right there or there's one that's right after. And the duality is like, hey, he's an author, but also at the same time he's going to become an investigator. And there's even going to be a member of, what was that, a DA or something like that, who's looking out, but then ultimately he has an affair, and it just leads to him just getting whacked. And it's stuff like that you gotta pay attention to, or read on Wikipedia, if you will. And so you have all the billings, you have the futuristic city, you have playing with the narrative, giving commentary about how people perceive his movies, and then I guess satirizing it or including it in its own meta narrative. Yeah, it's just absolutely insane stuff. It's on the IMDb and Wikipedia, of course. Yeah, there's just supposedly Dario, which I found out was Italian just for Darius, was supposedly he was being stalked by a crazy fan, and he received some notes that I'm not exactly going to say, but you can probably infer. So he ultimately decided to handle it in his own way, and thus created this. And he himself, Argento, and Dario has said that he found Anthony very difficult to work with because of his temperament, and Anthony never really learned how to control it. So it just led to, I wouldn't say clashing, but I guess the friction between the two ultimately led to a very, very cinematically literate movie. Yep, with the book and everything else. And I mean, you can even view Peter Neal being like the stand-in for Argento himself. That's what some people have said. And what I found interesting was that there was this billing that happened in a public square that was very reminiscent of a Hitchcock movie. Which, yes, I would definitely say, especially with probably, what the frick was that? Rope? So, yeah, that's what I think. It's like, this movie, it's like you can get enjoyment on it, or at least on one or two different levels, but with an understanding that on the second level, there's more going on, because it's like, taking all the other movies that Argento worked on, Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Deep Red, Suspiria, and ultimately became, like, I guess, the successor to Vava, or at least the next big name, and said, yeah, I kind of like what's going on here. This is what feels to me like my complete movie. So yeah, that's what I think it is. It's a combination of everything that was going on. It felt like a giallo that was being made, but have the narrative played with. Not everyone's trying to understand it. I know I didn't understand it the first time, but if you want to see a very artsy movie, forgot to mention the 2.5-minute long tracking shot. I'm just like, what is going on? Yes, Goblin is performing it very well, but it turns out it's about the insecurity that even two females that are in love with each other could feel, or one that had an affair, even though they were in love, that they could feel unsecured, and ultimately then that the biller could travel up the house in a 2.5-minute shot, and you could tell that, like with the window, yeah. So seriously, go YouTube Tenebrae long shot or whatever. It's very interesting. So yeah, with all that in mind, I do recommend you watch Dario Argento's Tenebrae.